Hello again, everybody. We're back. This is L.A. Kendrick from the House of Havoc, Crib of Chaos, bringing you a new story titled The Hell Unseen. Now, this story picks up with a young lady by the name of Tashala. And we're going to call her T for short. And she has her own delicatessen, and it's got some bakery items in it, but it's a really nice, healthy delicatessen spot. Really popular around the neighborhood. And it's she and her husband's business. So they invested their money and opened up a shop. And on this fateful evening, it's a really bad thunderstorm going on outside. So it's close to quitting time anyway. But they have a few customers in. And they're about to close. She's about to close up shop. So she's talking to her husband as she's tallying up all the profits for the day, getting everything ready for the cash deposit, the money drops, all that good stuff. And she's, because of the way the weather is, she's telling him she'll do that first thing tomorrow morning. So he tells her, he asks her how much longer. She says, well, Tashala tells him, well, because it's coming down so bad outside, that what I'll do is I'll just cut the evening short because it's slowing down out here anyway. The traffic is slowing down anyway. So he says, okay. And he has dinner waiting for her. So she gets off the phone with her husband, and a few more customers, one or two more come in. And again, then they leave after they've been served by her employees at the front desk, the front counter. And then it just goes to a crawl again. It's like there's nobody coming in because of the weather. And it's thundering and lightning pretty bad outside. The lights are flickering inside of the building. And then T says, okay, you know what? That's enough. All right, you guys can go ahead and clock out. And I'll see you guys first thing tomorrow when your shift start. But go ahead and clock out, and you guys have a nice rest of the evening. So they do, being the young folk that they are. And she's tallying up the register and getting the register ready for shutdown. And then one more guy comes in. She serves him a nice sandwich, a nice turkey Reuben. And he gets his order and he leaves. But as he's going through the door, he seems to run into something and bounce off of it. And she notices it, but she didn't think anything of it. She just thinks maybe he's just clumsy. So T puts her head down and she looks again and she hears and the door opens and it just stands ajar. Pretty wide, but not too wide, but pretty wide. And the rain can't come in because there's a canopy over the top. So she just stands there looking. And she can't see anything at the door what could keep it open like that. Yeah, there's wind, but the door is pretty solid, so the wind wouldn't keep it open like that, even though the thunderstorm is pretty strong outside. And it's kind of dying down as well. So she looks and she comes from behind the counter and she goes to push the door shut. And as she does, as soon as she gets close to it, the door starts shutting on its own. It shuts on its own. And then she's kind of puzzled, thinking, okay, that's strange. So then she stands there for a few more minutes and then she sees 4 or 5 kids run by her window and they're having, they're making a lot of noise and it scares her. So she jumps back and she goes, oh, God damn kids. And she smiles and she waves and the kids wave. And so she locks the door, goes back to the money count and counts everything down, gets everything ready for her in the office. And then she powers down her establishment. She shuts off the lights, shuts off the power, and she leaves and she gets in her car. So she's about 8 miles from her home. So, in a car, that's not too far at all. So she's in her car. She goes outside, unlocks her door, gets in her car. And she's like, dang it, I didn't run today. I didn't jog today. So she's actually practicing for a marathon, her and her husband. And she's like, okay, well, I'll just have to skip today. And she gets in her car. The thunderstorm starts to subside a little bit. Still raining a little. Puddles everywhere. But, hey, it is what it is. So she's driving along. And all of a sudden, she's about 2 miles into the 8-mile drive, and then out of nowhere, the car starts stuttering and sputtering. So she pulls the car over because it's about to die, and a few cars pass her, and she just pulls over. And when she does, she gets out and she puts on a wet weather jacket, and she puts on her headlamp. She opens up the hood. She lifts up the hood. And she looks down and she's looking, checking the hoses, and she doesn't see anything wrong. And then she can see fuel leaking from one of the hoses. So she leans under, she gets down and looks underneath the car, but not touching the surface because there's a lot of water still outside. And she notices that there's a line that's been cut or broken. So she said, just my luck. So she looks at her phone to try to get some roadside assistance, and she looks at it and she realizes she doesn't have any service. And just as she says that, the phone dies because the battery charge is pretty much gone because she's been using the phone all day. So she sits back for a minute and she just thinking, as she adjusts the hoodie on her head, she's like, okay, what do I need to do? And because she's practicing for a marathon and she's in really good shape, her and her husband, she says, well, I guess I'll get that marathon run in practice today after all. So she gets back in her car, she changes her shoes from her backpack, and she puts on her running shoes. She takes her pepper spray out, puts it on her hip. She puts her headlamp, she keeps her headlamp on, of course. Puts her pocket knife in, and she has a taser. And she's going to be real reluctant to use the taser because, of course, it's raining outside and that could be bad. But she wants to feel protected and feel safe. So she puts the backpack on. She locks up the car and sets the alarm so that the car can't be broken into. She looks at her phone again and it flickers with a little bit of life, and then the battery dies out again. So she takes off running. Good breathing, good running. She estimates it'll take her about 50 minutes to get home because she has 6 more miles to go. So she's making good time. And she's right at the 2-minute mile into her 6 mile run, when she notices there's like something dead on the side of the road, but it's either dead or dying because it keeps looking up, like the head's limp and it looks up and it drops back down, and it looks up, it appears to be looking up, and it drops back down, and it moves up again and it drops back down. And she's puzzled by this. So she runs wide, and when she does, the head of it's a deer, and the deer head drops back down really quick. So that catches her off guard, and she stops because it's like something is tearing into it, and then it stops. So she stops her run all completely, and she walks around. She's stepping wide, and she's walking backwards, looking at this mess and this mass that's being eaten on. It's what it seems to be. Tearing into, something's chewing on it, but she can't see anything. So there's water around. So she just misses a puddle, and she steps over the puddle. And she looks down and she looks back up, and then she can see puddles, like there's footsteps coming towards her. And she can hear the splish, splash, splish, splash. And then she stops moving, it stops moving altogether. She takes a few steps backwards, and it takes 2 steps forward. She's confused because she can't figure out what this is. She's a little concerned, and she thinks her mind's playing tricks on her. So she steps back again, and nothing. She steps back again, and nothing. So she says just her imagination. So she takes off running. And she's making up time again. And in her mind, she's trying to figure out what she just saw. Was she hallucinating? Is her sugar low? She doesn't know what's going on. She can't figure it out. And just as she does, she's making good. She's about a half a mile. She's running about another half a mile. And she can hear something coming behind her again. And then she looks back. And she can't really make out what's going on again, but it's the same splash in the water. Only it's keeping pace with her this time. And she's at a pretty good moderate run. So she's just really caught off guard by all of this. So then she stops because all of a sudden there's a downpour of rain to the point where it almost pushes her off the road, off the sidewalk into the street. And she catches her balance and she stops and she pauses for a minute and she looks up and she looks back to where she saw and heard the footsteps coming towards her. And she can see a form and an outline. But she can't really make it out. But it's a big form and it's an outline. She can just see that because the rain is giving the outline appearance of something standing there. And then she really doesn't know what's going on at this point. Now she's kind of getting freaked out. And then she pauses. And with that, she takes a look, a real hard look. She wipes her eyes, tries to clear the water from her eyes, and then she can see breath coming from that form. With that, she takes off running. She's in an all-out sprint. All she can think of, at this point, she is terrified. She's horrified beyond all belief. And she doesn't have any idea what it is because she can't see it. And she's in an all-out sprint to try to get away from whatever this is that she can't see. I'm going to leave it there. This is part 1 of The Hell Unseen. You guys, please feel free to like, comment, share, retweet, whatever you got to do. Again, this is a hobby of mine. I'm already a published writer. I'm just doing something to kill time and give you guys extra entertainment for free. These are original stories that Hollywood won't give you. So I'm providing you with an avenue of good storytelling, especially during the month of Halloween. And every little bit helps. If you want to donate to my Cash App, you can. You don't have to. Just every little bit helps. It's $outrage95. That's my Cash App. And like I said, you guys, feel free to comment. I already have published work on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Ingram, Nuke, Kindle, the whole 9. All right? I've got comic books, kids novels, educational kids novels, the whole shebang. And copyrighted 2020. Right? So again, this is L.A. Kendrick. Make sure you check the dark recesses of your home. Check the closets. Check underneath your bed. And if you happen to work at night, check your surroundings. Check under your car. Because you never know what's lurking in the dark, waiting to make you a story. This has been L.A. Kendrick, bringing you the heavy.